The craziest moments in comics sometimes come in the form of our morally just superheroes losing their cool and just showing us how powerful they really are. I'm Adam Andrews with Top 10 Nerd, and this is the Top 10 Brutal Superheroes Who Stopped Holding Back, Part 2. Number 10, Spider-Man vs. Firelord. I think it's a well-known fact that Spider-Man pulls his punches. It's part of the reason he is one of the best heroes, because he does everything he does while also holding back. But I always forget how much he actually pulls those punches. For example, in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 270, a black-suited Spider-Man puts one hell of a beating on a former Herald of Galactus, Firelord. Previously, Firelord had been wandering the cosmos when he stopped into New York to enjoy the culture, only to be attacked by firemen, and then kicked in the face by Spider-Man. Now, the Lord of Fire wants his revenge. After leading Firelord on a merry chase through office buildings, Grand Central Station, the subway system, into a construction zone, having a building demolished on top of them, and then leading him to a gas station which then explodes, Spider-Man, at his wit's end, musters all his effort and his spider sense to lay an incredible beatdown of speed, agility, and raw strength on Firelord, getting lost in his bloodlust until Captain America and the Avengers show up to be like, dude, you got him! Chill. Number 9, Firestorm V Parasite. Rudolph Jones found himself exposed to a strange form of radiation which changed him into the bald, green-skinned parasite with the ability to absorb the life energy of others. In Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, issue number 86, Parasite is released from an area he is being held in and goes on a rampage, draining multiple people of their life energy, including Firehawk, who fell pretty easily to this villain. Luckily, the hero Firestorm is nearby. Now at this point in time, Firestorm has become the world's fire elemental, and received a pretty significant power boost. Almost as if to prove that fact, Firestorm comes in hot on Parasite with a blast of flame, and then when Parasite tries to drain Firestorm's power, the hero is unaffected as he says, "My powers come not from myself, but from the earth. I don't have power, I am power." And in a last-ditch effort, Parasite decides to try and trade Energy Blast with Firestorm. Unfortunately for Parasite, it is nowhere near an equal fight. He uses up all the energy he took from Firestorm, and then just trying to hold back Firestorm's blast, Parasite goes through his own reserved life energy until he is on the brink. Realizing he will lose, he begs Firestorm to stop, saying that Firestorm would bring the end for Parasite, to which Firestorm simply says, "That was my intention." Luckily for him, Parasite was saved by the allies of Firestorm, who told him to just stop, but this hero left Parasite emaciated from using up his own energy. Number 8, Batman vs. Thugs. Have you ever played the Batman Arkham games? The combat in those games is absolutely fantastic, but it still leaves me wondering how many of these random street thugs actually survive after their interaction with Batman. He hits hard, and he is pretty unforgiving about it, which serves his whole point of instilling fear. But I think because these nameless thugs are cannon fodder, they essentially get the worst beatings of most of Batman's villains, and we never hear from most of them again. That kind of tells you all you need to know. Now, as an example, let's talk about a group of thugs in the All-Star Batman and Robin series, issue 7. Now, this comic is written by Frank Miller, who seems to be able to get away with making Batman do pretty much anything. Like in the opening pages of the issue, Batman comes speeding into a group of armed thugs, foot first, maniacally laughing like the Joker, talking in his head about how Gotham is full of cockroaches. He relishes the fact that criminals are scared that they are disposing of each other accidentally. Then he sets fire to a bottle of bleach and tosses it onto the criminals, blanketing them in fire. And then he continues beating the snot out of them while they're on fire. And then what happens next? I don't really know how to explain this, but Black Canary pops up out of nowhere, and these two superheroes just start making out and getting busy while the thugs are barbecuing in the background. Unfortunately, yes, this is Batman, and it's scary. Number 7, Zombie Peter Parker. In Marvel Zombies number 2, Zombie Peter Parker and Luke Cage leave the group of cosmically superpowered zombies and, regaining their good guy nature, try to protect what's left of humanity on Earth. But they unfortunately get teleported to a different reality by Malcolm Cortez's son. In Marvel Zombies Returns, the zombie heroes end up on Earth 91126. Zombie Spider-Man thinks he can cure their zombie virus by finding the Lifeline tablet, but just as he is getting underway with the the plan, he gets distracted and forced into a fight with Dr. Octopus, Electro, Mysterio, Vulture, Kraven, and Sandman, aka the Sinister Six. Despite trying his best to hold back his hunger, Spider-Man cannot resist Kraven's smell and ends up attacking him, biting into his neck. Mysterio tries using illusions, but Spider-Man's senses help him locate and dispose of Mysterio. Electro and Dr. Octopus try to attack Spider-Man together, but this just puts them in positions to hurt each other instead, with Electro using up most of his power, and Dr. Octopus left electrically deep-fried for Spider-Man to eat. As they realize this is not going too well, the remaining villains try to hightail it out of there, but before Vulture can escape, Spider-Man rips off his wings and uses them to finish off Electro before he can shoot more electricity at him. Only Sandman manages to escape from the chaos, going to attack this universe's Spider-Man for this utterly sickening display of violence. Number 6, Wally West V Inertia. Inertia was a young villainous Thaddeus Thawne. Inertia is to Bart Allen, aka Impulse, what Eobard Thawne is to Barry Allen. He is his reverse. Now, Inertia had been raised his whole life to absolutely despise speedsters of any kind. He learned to be a villain from others, but his actions were all his own. So, when Inertia made the mistake of taking the life of his opposite, Bart Allen, he would be made to suffer the consequences. Unfortunately for him, those consequences came in the form of Wally West, one of the most powerful speedsters ever. After taunting Wally about the fact that he just took the life of his sidekick, in All Flash #1, Wally takes the young villain, who had the potential to be reformed, and removes his ability to move at all. He traps Inertia in a museum as one of the exhibits, only able to blink once every 100 years. And he leaves the kid there still thinking in real time during all of this, meaning he's driven slowly and very assuredly insane. And just as the cherry on top, Wally left him facing the exhibit of Bart Allen, the man that Inertia could have been. It's an incredibly dark fate for a hero to impose on a villain, especially one who's like a sidekick. Number 5, Midnighter vs. Commander. The Authority is a really cool group from DC Comics' Wildstorm universe. The two most well-known heroes from the team would be Apollo and Midnighter, who are basically like Superman and Batman respectively, only these two are husband and husband, and Midnighter is almost insane. He is like Batman, but like Batman who is also mixed with the Punisher and maybe a little bit of like Deadpool, I think? And these stories get dark. In Mark Millar's run on the Authority, a villain by the name of Commander makes the very big mistake of attacking and forcing himself on Apollo. This was a hell of a mistake. In response to those actions, Apollo, after recovering, burns Commander's legs so that he cannot escape, and Midnighter shows up with a jackhammer, and the rest is something we are kept from seeing, thankfully. If you want to check it out for yourself, you may be my guest, but you've been warned, it's quite haunting. Number 4, Black Panther and the Skrulls. Wakanda, like the other fictional kingdoms of Atlantis and Latveria, is protected by a man who will do pretty much anything to protect his people. T'Challa doesn't really have the luxury of sparing those that would do harm to his incredibly advanced home. But Wakanda is also one of the #1 places targeted when an invading force wants to take over Earth. So, taking those two facts into account, when the Skrulls tried to invade Wakanda to start their mission of dominating the world, T'Challa, the king of one of the most advanced nations in said world, and his wife, Storm of the X-Men, one of the most powerful mutants alive, left those aliens with a clear message. After tricking the Skrulls into attacking their own men for information, the Skrulls send out their best warriors for the task of taking down the pair. But just as those toughest warriors are gone from sight, an army of Wakandan soldiers breaks into the Skrull ship and leaves not a single Skrull soul alive. While that's happening, those toughest warriors are turned into pulp by Black Panther, with T'Challa using their bodily fluids to write, "This is what happens when you invade Wakanda," on the bridge of the Skrull ship. Damn. Number 3, One Rule. Batman Hush could in its entirety be seen as a brutal moment. It strikes at the childhood life of Bruce Wayne himself, pushing Batman to a point we rarely ever see. In Batman issue number 614, right smack dab in the middle of the Hush story arc, Tommy Elliot, the childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, loses his life at what seems to be the hands of the Joker. All the years and years of distress caused by the Joker, the people he hurt, the lives lost, they all fuel this rage inside of Bruce Wayne, who begins to lay a spectacular beatdown on the Joker, knocking out both Harley Quinn and even Catwoman, who both try to stop him. Batman almost goes to the point of permanently bringing an end to the Joker, beginning to put aside his morals to finally be rid of this homicidal plague on Gotham City. It's not until Jim Gordon intervenes while Batman has his gloves around the Joker's neck that the Dark Knight finally relents. The worst part about this, though, is that if Batman did go through with it, the Joker wasn't even the one responsible for the crime in the first place. Number 2, Captain America. We love Civil War. Not the actual Civil War, the Marvel one. So many great examples of superheroes fighting other superheroes, but the main star of the show in this conflict is Iron Man versus Captain America. And while the climactic fight ultimately ended in a Captain America favored draw, I'd say the first major fight was definitely more of a win for Tony Stark. In issue number 3 and 4 of the main Civil War comic, a battle takes place between the forces of both Cap and Stark. While Steve is fighting Spider-Man, Iron Man comes swooping in, attacking with an armor that's analyzed every punch Cap has ever thrown, and he just starts going to town on this guy, feeding him the left right until Cap is absolutely battered. Cap still doesn't go down, so Tony uses a high frequency that shuts down the human brain. He's about to end the fight when Hercules jumps in, attacking with an oil tanker truck, which definitely would do some damage. And finally, in at number 1 today, it's Sentry ripping Ares in half. The Sentry is a character that deserves more spotlight. Problem is, he's kind of one of the most powerful superheroes Marvel has. Obviously, that's debatable, but this guy has the power to destroy pretty much anybody in the Marvel universe. He has reassembled his own molecules and taken out the Molecule Man, for example. He's almost too powerful to include in a lot of stories, but it's the fight between the Sentry and Ares, the literal god of war, in issue 2 of Marvel's Siege event that really left people slack-jawed and looking for emotional support. Ares in this story started on the Dark Avengers before redeeming himself and joining the good guys. He had been showing how awesome he is, and he turns his sights on Norman Osborn, which unfortunately means that Ares now has to face his friend, the Sentry. Sentry punches Ares halfway across Asgard, and maybe 2 or 3 punches later, he grabs both ends of the God of War and rips him completely in half. Not only did it leave everyone on the page frozen, it also left readers completely stunned. And that is all we got. Thank you guys so much for watching and making it to the end of the video today on Top 10 Nerd. Big round of applause for you. My name is Adam Andrews. I will catch you all on the flippy flop, and even if I don't, stay safe and peace out, you nerds. Flip flip.